So to explain the importance of individual capacity, I'm going to give you an example of a kitchen. So if you have a great compatibility, it's like having a great kitchen. So when you have a great kitchen, you have the best refrigerator, you have the best oven, and you have all the best facilities that is required to cook well. That is not enough, right? I need to know how to cook. Otherwise, even with the best facilities, I won't be able to cook a good meal. So the same thing is with compatibility. If two individuals are of good character and they know how to cook, in other words, they know how to have good relationships, they have the individual capacity to make relationships successful, then the compatibility will help. If the persons don't know how to cook, in other words, if the individual capacity of relationship is very complicated, it means that even with the best of the kitchens, the person will not be able to cook. So the individual capacity in a compatibility is extremely important. It's the foundational principle before we even check the compatibility. Many times people just check the quota system. They just put two charts together and get a points, and then they say this is compatible or not compatible. It is actually only 20% of the whole equation. And I cannot stress the importance of individual capacity. So that's why we provide services to give coaching to the individuals to help them come up to the level, get trained to deal with relationships. Because there are people with a very, very simple kitchen, they can cook a good meal. Like for example, in India, many villages, they just have a hole in the ground and some firewood and a pot and some grains and vegetables, and they can actually prepare a feast. So this is again another example to say, if your individual capacity is high, then even if the compatibility is not very great, you can still manage to have a good meal. In other words, you can have a fulfilling relationship. I have seen so many times that people with great compatibility but very little individual capacity for relationships, they mess up their marriage. Even with like 98% compatibility that I have seen, people broke up after a few years of marriage. That is because not recognizing the individual capacity, not being able to see the good things in the relationship, not being able to utilize the good compatibility is actually a big minus in relationships. What I will be able to provide you with this individual capacity report is that I'm going to help you see yourself. I'm going to help you to look through the window of how you're perceived, your karma, what are your strengths in relationships, what are your weaknesses, what are elements that are like weeds in your capacity to have successful relationships, and we'll give you some tips and techniques on how to work on yourself in a way that you can become happy individually, and then you will also be happy in a relationship. Also, I'm going to provide you information on what is your karma in terms of relationship, because sometimes you may expect that you have a certain kind of spouse and a certain kind of relationship and marriage, but maybe your karma says something different. Depending on the planet that influences your house of marriage, you can know a lot about what kind of marriage experience or what are the lessons in marriage for you. Because sometimes people want like a very like romantic and very sweet and pleasant and all pink relationship, but maybe in their chart, in their karma, certain planets are present that indicates that they have hard lessons to learn through relationships, because maybe they need to learn flexibility, they need to learn tolerance. And in those cases, if you can accept that, oh, this is my planet. So when you come for an individual capacity reading, I'm going to reveal to you and say, look, you have whatever it is, Saturn in your house of marriage. So this means that you are going to face lessons that will force you to build persistence, patience, tolerance, etc. And maybe you have Mars there. And so what are the lessons that Mars brings? And so on and so forth. So this can again help you to prepare yourself for that journey that you're going to take towards marriage relationships. And sometimes individuals just don't have very good karma to find a partner of their dreams. And what happens is when we give them the coaching, the understanding of their own individual capacity, then they can make themselves happy instead of waiting on the partner to give them that. And the opposite also holds true. When your individual capacity for relationships is very weak, no matter how great the partner is, no matter how great the compatibility is, you can always feel very unsatisfied. So therefore, it's very, very important to understand the individual karma for relationships, individual capacity for relationships, and work towards developing qualities that can make us individuals who can be happy with ourselves, and therefore we can be happy with other people. Because if a person is very miserable, always dissatisfied, always upset with everyone and especially themselves, they cannot actually have a good relationship or a good marriage. So the first thing that is important to have good relationships is self-awareness.